Hi.
Hello, welcome
Wisdom for
wisdom
menopause and beyond.
and beyond.
Because there's a lot of the beyond, actually.
That's true.
There's
That's
a lot of the
true.
beyond.
So our wisdom today is,
Well, actually, we're nicking a bit of somebody else's wisdom because I was looking at the lovely Maria Newman. We love Maria. She's been in the shed with us. And she posted something the other day, which I really liked, which was basically a kind of advice of daydreaming.
okay,
About actually and saying just spend 5 minutes a day on this exercise. And she kind of had some ideas at it, and I'll hunt out the link and we'll put that in the thing. But she kind of had an idea about how, like, a structure.
okay.
So I mean, it's quite interesting about daydreaming, isn't it? Because daydreaming is, you think you're just sitting there kind of like,
Well,
doing nothing, but she had an idea.
I've just got in my head Daydream Believer by the Monkees, but that's another thing.
Don't go there.
Daydreaming is very interesting because people relate it to not being useful, but it really is. And the other thing that I've often said is 5 minutes.
Yes.
5 minutes of something.
Do something, yeah,
or
for 5
even
minutes.
1 minute of something. So I've often said, if you do this for 1 minute. So one of the things that, and we're definitely not leaving the daydream.
Yeah, we're coming back to it, don't worry.
But it's just one of the things I've said to people is, if you wake up in the morning, and it's one of those things that I need to say to myself again at the moment, which is why I'm thinking about it. But if you wake up, or one moment, put a timer on for 1 minute. And remember a moment in your life where you just laughed. You just couldn't stop it. It was a really happy moment. It might be where you met your lover friend or whatever and had this amazing moment, or something that just made your heart spill and be happy. And it might just be, as one of my friends said, she was remembering when she went out with her friend and they just had such a lovely evening. They fell off the bar stools laughing, and they just couldn't stop laughing. Whenever they think about it, it still makes them laugh. So it doesn't matter if it's wonderful, reverent, a beautiful morning, so a starry night,
meditating.
But it's not meditating. It's something that you thought, wow, this brings me pleasure, and it changes. So I was really interested to hear about the daydreaming, because 1 minute makes a difference. So 5 minutes must be very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And she was kind of suggesting this structure where she kind of almost said, so daydream almost about your perfect day, the day that you'd really like to have. So she says the first thing to think about is, how are you going to wake up? What's going to be happening at and also think about what you're going to be doing at the end of the day. So frame it. And then thinking about, so how are you going to spend your time on your daydream day, which you're in charge of, so you can spend it in any way you want. So, for me, there'd be a large proportion would be at the beach, in the sea, hanging out, doing all that kind of stuff, those kind of things. And then think about, and then this is kind of where you bring it back into the now, I think. And she talks about, how might your life be different if that was real life, if that was reality? And then at the end of it, can you think of one small thing that you could do that just links back to your daydream day?
Well, something that you would do today.
Yes, so you can actually bring into your real life one thing that you could do that. And it is that thing. So it kind of reminds me a bit of some of the work I've done with Julia Cameron, where she kind of talks about this thing about, look at your idea, and we've talked about this, look at what you could have been, your different professions, and it was like that thing. If you wanted to be an astronaut, maybe you I don't know, maybe you go and buy a telescope, whatever it is, how can you do that? And I suppose it was for me, well, I always had it at school. I should have been a marine biologist, because I love biology. I just hated the other sciences. That's the problem. So I should have been, female Jacques Cousteau, really, because he was on, and I was like, yeah, that's a job I'd like to do. And then it's almost like, what could you do to make that reality? And I suppose that's what I do every Friday. I go swimming in the sea,
and so bring that.
So you bring it into your real life, and you don't have to do it all the time. I kind of think the boat for me, being a marine biologist, has probably sailed now. And you know what? I probably wouldn't want to do that now.
No.
But it's that kind of interesting thing. So it is that thing of, you know, how are you going to wake up, what you're going to do when you go to bed, what you're going to do in the day.
Is there any timings on this? Is there like you spend a minute, or does it not matter?
No.
So you
within your 5 minutes.
So you
just look at those four kind of areas.
Start with the beginning
and end,
and make conjure those feelings.
Yeah, just kind of think, what will you be doing? How will your day start? You know, and how will it end? And then also, what will you be doing in between? How will you spend your time? And it is just a kind of, and I actually quite like this, because often if we kind of do that thing, our unconscious thoughts are mostly negative. You know, it is that thing when you wake up and you kind of think, oh yeah, what if the earth, I always call it, what if the earth crashes into the sun? You know, something you have no control over whatsoever. But you can feel bad. From, you look outside, it's a lovely day, but you can worry about that. So we're normally worrying about, so this gives you a kind of visualization that you can do in a positive way, in that sense of, and actually I must try next time I'm awake at 4 o'clock in the morning, I must think, all right, let's just do 5 minutes. That's daydreaming.
I think that's a really nice thing. So many people, especially if you are in menopause or whatever, do have those waking moments in life. And instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm awake, this is insomnia, maybe it's just really nice
to get back to sleep, which
to
is
have
really
that
positive
1 minute of joy. Just remembering and just conjuring the joy. You're not remembering the circumstance, you're trying to conjure the emotion, which is why 1 minute is quite a lot. And then that 5 minutes of framing your day. And I do come back to Florence Scovel-Shinn, who was always my original person that did the law of abundance in the 1920s, and before that she was one of the original thinkers in this way, who just said, check your thoughts, because if you leave it, it's a bit like an unruly toddler. If you leave them alone in the room, you're unlikely to come back and finding they're doing their maths homework.
This is true.
You're probably going to find that your pot plant has no leaves on it at best. Other things. And
they're probably eating the earth as well.
So most of your mind just goes off into this very destructive, self-destructive.
And it's normally this way, isn't it? Because the more you feel bad, then the more things you can feel bad about. And then that'll suck in all of those other things. And you can go back to that thing that when you were at school and you did something which was embarrassing, or you forgot your your gym kit or whatever it was.
Someone that you've not had an argument with. I'm going to take my book back to somewhere and they won't give me the refund, and I bet and you can end up down many catastrophe. So I think actually, one, it's a lovely thing. I think it's a lovely thing to do if you wake up. It's a lovely thing to do if you don't wake up. I think it's a nice thing to put in, but I think it's also a bit of a reminder to have that watch where your thoughts are going. Are you thinking the worst all the time?
Because that's what is happening at the moment, I think, is that we are getting sucked into that.
Yes.
Mostly, if you make the mistake of reading a newspaper, or listening to news or something like that.
I listen to all news.
I know. You do quite well despite that. But it is that thing of...
But if you do compartmentalise, if you do have worries at work or whatever it happens to be, it's almost like that compartmentalising, that we do have control over certain areas. And it does feel like we're out of control. So I think just taking back those good thoughts.
1 minute of joy, 5 minutes of daydreaming,
but not
6 minutes in your day. 6 minutes in your day.
To change the other 23 hours.
I know.
However many minutes.
54, I think that is 54.
So that's
so give it a go. So thank you to Maria for that.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do it for the next week. I'm going to make some notes, and then we will do
a follow-up
of what we feel, what it was about, and what we feel changed. So I think maybe we'll give it 2 weeks.
Okay.
2 weeks, and we will definitely do a follow-up on that.
Great.
Which I think will be a really interesting thing to do, and it'll force me to do it as well.
All right.